I'm really happy to have Danielle join us. She's coming in remote with us from Phoenix, Arizona. Hi, Danielle.
Hello.
Nice to have you joining us this evening, and we're going to kind of talk a little bit about, you've got quite the story. You've got quite a life story when you get down to everything that's gone on in your life, from severe trauma situations when you were very young to things that you're going through in your life on an everyday basis. You have a rather large family. And so I want to kind of just take a few minutes and share and talk about some of that adventure and how you have a reason to celebrate life, because coming through all of that, look at where you're at today and where you're working and what you're doing and how you're making changes and things that are going on in your life. So if you wouldn't mind, Danielle, I'd like it if you'd kind of share a little bit of your story about when you were younger.
Wow, there's so many places I can go with that, but one of the biggest impacts of my life is when I was 5 years old. I was in a major car accident. It was awful. I had a very large vehicle, but it was towed away in 3 pieces. It was a very, very, very bad impact, and I was not expected to survive. And it was quite interesting because they thought that my neck was broken. They constantly focused on my neck. They changed cameras, they changed rooms, they changed beds. I had head trauma, I had facial trauma. I hit the windshield, the dashboard, and the side window with my face. And so they had to reconstruct my face, but all in the process, they had no idea if my neck was broken. So after I recovered, I actually was able to get out of the hospital within 9 days, which was absolutely astounding. I was the very first child patient to do the skin expander surgery. They didn't have any type of device to use, so they used a breast implant to stretch my skin on my head because I was so small.
Wow.
And that was a really, it was uncomfortable, to say the least.
Definitely.
That's where it started.
When you think about that and you go back to that part in time in your life and kind of, if we fast forward it a little bit into where you're at today and some of the different things that you're doing today, how do you think you can contribute your healing? How would you contribute that ability for your body to recover so fast?
Well, because there's so many different things that happened to me along the way, my body had to heal fast. It didn't have a choice. I had to keep going. And so I think that a lot of the holistic healing that I do, the body, mind, spirit type thing where we're bringing energy within our body, it helps so much, because if I didn't have that daily energy, I wouldn't be able to keep up with the amount of children that we have and be able to show them that just because life gives you lemons, you know, you don't have to have lemonade. You can make lemon bars. We can actually get through on a daily basis, even though we have horrible traumas or we have things that life gives us. We're here to do a job, we're here to learn, we're here to celebrate our life.
Exactly. And I think we probably should tell everybody who's watching. How many children do you have, Danielle?
Between my husband and I, we have 8 children.
Yep.
That's just,
I have had the privilege of spending some time with Danielle and going down and hanging out with her family, and there's been some days I've left going, ah!
It's loud here.
So I can appreciate
Very
that.
Loud.
I can appreciate that having that energy and having that ability to use that energy that you're sharing about. And can you share a little bit about your first beginning of starting to work within your, I'm going to call it your enlightenment.
Okay. That was actually such an interesting time in my life. I was in school. I had been gaining weight, and that actually drove me nuts. Been a size 0 all my life, and I was gaining 4 pounds a month like this. it was just popping on. So I went through doctor after doctor. They said, you know, nothing seems to be wrong. So I said, you know what? I'm going to go into this psychic lady that I know, and her name, I don't even remember her name, but she was absolutely a wonderful person, and I sat down and spoke with her, and she immediately connected with me, and she knew some things that I didn't even set my wallet down yet, so I knew she had connected with me. And she said, Danielle, the reason why you're gaining weight is because you are creating a barrier between yourself and the people that you're healing. And I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And she said that I was a natural born healer. I had to heal myself fast because I had to be out there healing others. And that I was naturally, automatically healing other people. So, because I didn't know what I was doing and that I was doing it, my body was creating a barrier for itself. So that's the day when I called, or I texted you, or typed to you, and I said, I think we really need to talk. I knew what you did, but a little birdie sat on my shoulder and said, you need to speak to April, and so I did, and that's when it started. And I actually started really, really, really believing in the natural healing and the energy work when I had received the really bad results on my MRI about my back. And so that was, I think, one of the first few times I had actually spoken to you on the phone, and we did a remote healing. And I had many people, I'm sure, have experienced ruptured discs. I've had so many I can't even count, but this particular MRI said I had facet degeneration, 3 ruptured discs, sacroiliitis, and like a bazillion other things going on. And I felt really down about that. And I'm like, I need to keep going. I don't have a choice. I can't be sedated all the time. So you talked to me over the phone, and I think we spent an hour on the phone from Arizona to Alaska at the time, and I did another MRI a few weeks later.
And I remember specifically when we started doing your healing work that I felt like a lot of this was triggered also from your youth. A lot of the old things that were held within our bodies. Hence that cellular level healing that we often need. So go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, I was just going to say yes, that's what we figured, because so many people thought that my neck was broken. They concentrated solely on my face and head and neck. And nobody really paid attention to the rest of my body because they didn't know if I was going to live or not. And we had a wonderful session. I got to view my MRI results, and I kind of sat there in disbelief for a few minutes. Didn't know what to say. It was really a relief.
Yeah, and what I think is really neat too, when we think back on the accident that you shared information on, how your body as a healer automatically knew to start healing. And in an indirect manner, I even want to say that you knew to heal yourself. That as a child, we oftentimes come in with that ability and with that knowledge, and we forget as we get older because of programming and things that are shared with us. With that, I kind of want to spin off a little bit, Danielle, into working with, you did come up to Alaska, and you did spend time with us, and you did take the training for the energy emerging healing modality that we offer at the school now, and you came up and experienced that, but also when I was down visiting, you were noticing some things going on with your youngest child. And so you started doing some more of the holistic work and some of that. Want to share a little bit of that with us, please?
That was a very scary situation for me at first, because although we try not to give fear a place, when it involves your babies, you automatically start thinking, how do we fix it? And what happened was, when he was in my stomach, they showed that there were several water pockets in his brain. So they were like cysts. And when he reached about 2 years old, he started having these facial tics, and I noticed it immediately. The very first tiny little facial tic I noticed. Then I kept watching him and noticed it went to his eye. So his left lip and his left eye started twitching, and it became more rapid and more rapid, and I could not figure out what was going on. I took him to the neurologist. The neurologist actually thought at first that I was just an overprotective parent. And I said, no, I know something's not right here. I just need to know what it is so I know which direction to go with him. And I had some tests done. I had an EEG done, and it showed that he had right temporal lobe seizure-like activity. And what that means is that they have no idea what's going on.
They just like to give it a tag.
Exactly. So he wanted to set up for an overnight study, and he said if it cost us money, then he didn't want to do it because basically it was just for educational purposes on his end. So after I knew what it was, I started trying to deduce the cause. Was it food? Was it vitamins? What was it? When I figured out what I needed to do, I was able then to go that direction and start healing him. So I started working with him on a regular basis. Some spinal cord issues. He had some different spinal cord issues that I think he came in with, and also some right temporal lobe issues that he had. So I just started using the techniques and the tools that I learned through the school, and he no longer has any twitches, not even a little anything at all anymore. He's just a normal 4-year-old boy now.
It was interesting because after you had started doing some work on him, I remember that about, I want to say maybe about 30 days, again, you started noticing something else, going on again, and you began working on him again.
Yeah.
And I think, didn't you figure out that there was something going on with one of the vitamins that he was taking?
Yes, I did. It was gummy vitamins that we found out there was acceptable levels of lead in the gummy vitamins. So basically his body wasn't flushing them out, and it was crossing the blood-brain barrier, and that's one of the things I needed to do is I had to go in and had to continuously flush that out of him for him because his body couldn't do it. When I figured out what it was, we could flush that out on a cellular level and no longer have to deal with it anymore.
Excellent. And the reason I wanted you to share that, Danielle, is because as parents out there, we think we're putting our kids on something that's going to help them. And then sometimes it's really not. Sometimes it has quite the negative or quite the opposite effect. And in your case, when you did a little bit more research, you were able to find out a little bit more of what could be an external cause as well.